It looks like we're live. So, hello everyone. We are currently live today, and I am with my business bestie, Ange. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi everyone, I'm Ange, I'm a money coach, and I'm so excited to have this live with you today.
Yeah, I hope you can hear us. If you do, please do let us know. And we're also going to be live on Ange's Instagram as well.
So I'll set that up now.
Yeah. So what we've decided to do is a quick Q&A, and honestly, I think we're probably going to end up ranting.
Probably.
On this live as well.
Oh, we're ranting, are we?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. And if you do have any questions, because I see a few people have joined us, if you do have any questions, hi Jenny. Hope you're well.
Hi Jenny.
If you do have any questions, please do let us know. You can ask us anything. That is what we're going to be doing. We do have a couple of questions.
Also, hi on Instagram.
Yes. Hello on Instagram.
So we've got two things going on here, but we'll hi everyone on Instagram. How are you? But yeah, we're just going to do a quick Q&A.
Quick Q&A.
So feel free to ask some questions. We do have some questions as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just feel free to ask us any questions. I will look at this camera and the YouTube camera. Yeah. So we've got a lot of things going on at the moment.
Yeah. So one of the first questions we got was, where do you see yourself financially in the next 5 years?
So I'm going with me first.
Yeah.
Okay. So where I see myself financially in the next 5 years, let me add up how old I will be. Okay. I would hope, I have to say it and claim it. I hope to be a millionaire by then. I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. And also have a few more properties under my belt. I own one house at the moment, just the house that I live in, but I would love to do more property stuff. So that's how I see myself financially. Still investing. I'll still have an emergency fund. I'll still be saving, and that's like my dream. Probably have some kids. And a dog, so hopefully still being able to fund for them as well.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Ange is also a money coach as well. And for those on Instagram, I'm also a money coach.
Yeah.
So where do I see myself in 5 years? So in 5 years, I will be 33. Yeah. 33. I'm 28 now.
Yeah.
So I would love to almost be at the point where we are pretty much on track to being financially independent. Mm-hmm. So our original goal has been 35 to reach financial independence. If you don't know what financial independence is, it's basically giving you the option to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and you may have investments actually paying for your lifestyle. So you don't really have to go to work in order for you to pay your bills. You will have investments essentially paying for your bills. So I think hopefully we'd be on that track. So we'll definitely be investing. Again, similar to you, we'll have like our emergency fund intact. We probably would have moved house by that time. And yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah, probably will hopefully start a family. But I think that's the main, that'd be the main thing, I would say, in 5 years.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. And I think sometimes what's the saying? Like you overestimate what you do
in 1 year. But underestimate how much you can do in like 5 years.
5 years.
2 years. Longer, a bit longer than 1 year. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So maybe we're underestimating.
Yeah, maybe we are. Hopefully we are.
Maybe there's more to come, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And do let us know in the comments as well. What's something you would like to achieve in the next 5 years?
I'd definitely like to know
as well.
A question I've been getting is how you can get started with investing. I wonder how you would answer that question.
So I would say it's really important to know your goals. So typically what I would say is be clear on what you're working towards. Like, are you working towards retirement, or are you trying to become financially independent? And what will that mean in numbers? That will then help you to understand, okay, this is what I now need to invest in order for me to reach that goal. I think one of the mistakes that we typically make is that people maybe start investing just because they feel like they need to invest before thinking about, okay, well, how is investing going to help me?
Yeah.
What should I be focusing on? And that will then help me figure out, okay, what do I specifically need to invest in to help me reach my goals?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree with you, because I feel like, especially when you are investing, it's very up and down.
Yeah.
And like, if you are seeing that up and down, the why is the thing that's going to keep you going. Because at the end of the day, when you think your money's going down, you might want to pull out.
Yeah.
But because you're disciplined enough to know, okay, I'm investing for generational wealth, as an example, you're not going to want to pull it out, because you know that that's just how the stock market works. You just ride the ups and downs of the roller coaster of the stock market. Yeah. So 100% agree with you there, knowing your goals and knowing your why. I would also say how also you can get started investing, like preparation work, as I call it. You know, having an emergency fund, it doesn't mean you have to have it fully funded. In my personal opinion, not a financial advisor, putting that out there.
Yes, financial advice.
But having some sort of emergency fund. I also would talk about, you know, paying off high interest debt, and just like really thinking about looking into the investments that you want to invest in and deciding what feels right to you. Because I've been saying this recently, that everything with investing works. Everything can work. You know, you can be a property queen or king. You can be a crypto queen or queen. You can smash out the stock market. Just pick what feels good for you.
Or have your own business.
Yeah, or even have your own business. Yeah, exactly. I always forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's just lots of things, and it's just like figuring out what feels right for you rather than trying to like follow the crowd.
Yeah. And the question I've had is, should you pay off debt or invest?
Oh, I love this question. I would say it depends. This is my opinion. It depends on how much interest of debt you have. Personally, I have a mortgage. That's debt. You know, that is debt. I am owing money to somebody else. My mortgage is about 1%, and I still invest every month. But I would say if you have high interest debt, like a credit card or anything over, I'll say 7%, which is the average stock market return, I would probably suggest really looking into paying that off first versus investing, because are you really going to get a return on your investment when it's all going to get eaten up in debt anyway? So that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So I remember that my philosophy was that if I had any debt higher than 5%, because I wanted to be a bit more conservative, then I would pay it off. So in my case, I had a car loan, but my interest was over 11%. It was like 11.9% or something ridiculous. So for me, although I really, really wanted to start investing, it did not make sense for me, because I was like, I would have to get returns, guaranteed returns of over 12% in order for it to make sense. So for me personally, I chose to then pay off the debt and focus on paying off that debt. But as you mentioned, if I had a mortgage, for example, and it was like really low, like, you know, 1 or 2%, then I would probably use a lot of that money to invest. So, but I also think it maybe depends on what your goals are as well.
Definitely.
You know, you have some people that have maybe have a mortgage, but they would rather become mortgage free and then invest. But you also have other people that will do a hybrid of the two. Like they may overpay on their mortgage and they may invest the other half as well. So I think it just depends on what you're really comfortable with. But I would say from like a logical perspective, I would say for me, it was any, you know, debt higher than 5%, I was like, it would just make sense for me to just pay that off and then invest.
And I guess I want to add as well, like with investing, time is your biggest asset. Like I just like, if you're, in my opinion, if you're mulling over 1% and you like, if you're really getting into that 1% and you do want to invest, and like you've thought about your goals and you want to invest, really look into investing. It's 1%. You can afford it. If, for example, it's your mortgage, like you said, you can overpay it, because the more time you spend in the market, the more likely not guaranteed your money will grow. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch gears because I've had a question about housing.
Oh, housing.
And whether you should rent or buy.
Oh God, this question.
I wanted to know your thoughts because a lot, you hear a lot of people saying that renting is throwing money away, like you should always buy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know your thoughts because obviously you're a homeowner at the moment.
Yeah, you're in my home right now.
Yes, like I'm in Versus home right now. So I would love to know your thoughts, but I know you previously rented.
Yeah.
As well.
And I honestly think that there is no shame in renting. Like, if it suits you for your lifestyle, for your goals, then rent. Don't let the baby boomers tell you need to buy a house. Because that's where we're getting it from.
We're getting serious now.
Don't let your parents tell you that you need to buy a house, that the house is going to be fulfilling. Houses are expensive. Okay. I was telling Verona, I need to do a whole new decking. I need to sort out my bedroom. Like, I don't have a landlord to sort out the stuff for me. I have to do it all myself. I mean, I love owning my own home, don't get me wrong. But if you feel like you like the freedom of renting, you'll be able to experience different places, then go for it. Don't let anyone shame you for that decision. That's my opinion. Buy a house if you want to, rent if you want to. Just be happy with your decision. What do you think?
So I think there's both a behavioral aspect and there's also a logic aspect. So with the behavior part, I kind of see where people come from when they're talking about, buy your house. I personally, I've said this before, I personally don't see the house as an asset. I see my house as my house to live in, to make memories.
Yeah.
But I can see why people would say that you may want to buy your house if, for example, you get to retirement, if you've paid off that mortgage, you don't have to deal with, the house payments. But I think that also helps the majority of people if they aren't investing in other things in the first place.
So do you see houses as an investment?
We're
getting spicy on this.
So I would say it would depend on the person because, for example, if it was someone like us, I can see how we could turn that house into an investment.
Yeah,
because we could decide to buy the house and then maybe we live in it for a couple of years and then we decide to rent it out.
Yeah,
or we decide to take the money and buy another property. Yeah. Whereas many people won't do that. They stay in the house, and that's what I mean. Like, my house would be there for memories. I wouldn't actually see it as an investment unless I was planning to rent it out. But if, for example, I was renting, I would still be investing that money, whereas I don't think many people would be doing that. And I think that's where the behavioral problem is, because if you decide to rent, but you don't put that money to the other money to work for you, like the money you would have used for your deposit and your fees, well, then come retirement, if you don't have any assets, then you're still going to have to pay rent. That's the problem. Whereas if, let's say, you had been renting, because wealthy people do rent, but they're using that money to invest in other things, their investments will then pay for that rent. And they don't really need to live in the house. Like, they don't need to buy the house. So I think it depends on the person. I think from a logical perspective as well, in the long term, yes, it's cheaper to buy a house than to rent, mainly because once you've paid off the mortgage, you then don't have to you don't have to pay the rent, and rents do tend to go up every year from a logical perspective. But again, someone who has bought a house but doesn't have any assets, doesn't have any investments, versus someone who's rented, yes, their rent's going up every year, but they've been investing their money, who's going to be better off?
That's true. That is really true. And I guess it's also thinking about, oh, my mind's just gone. What I was going to say, it was going to be such a good point on what you were saying. Yeah, my point's gone. I'll get it back. I'll get it back. Oh yeah, what you were saying about the fact that, renting can seen as being cheaper than buying a house as being cheaper than renting.
I think for the long term, though, only.
Oh, okay, yes.
Because for short term,
it
it can be much more expensive.
And also, it's like, everything. You have to do everything in your house.
Exactly.
Like, for example, we had someone come in, look at our boiler, and our boiler's been going for 20 years. I have no idea how it's been going on for that long.
Wow,
Apparently boilers don't last that long. I was about to pack up, and this guy came in and was like, okay, it's going to cost $3,000. And we all looked at each other like, no. Like, we looked at each other like, we're just going to see, we're going to keep testing the waters with our boiler. Because at the end of the day, oh, hi, Tolu. At the end of the day, I feel like that can be the expensive part of owning the house, is the housing repairs, the housing maintenance. If something went wrong, it's your responsibility. Yeah. You can't go off and call the landlord to do it for you. So that's like, I feel like a bit of a drawback to buying a house, because you have to do everything. And if you're not ready for that type of responsibility, or you don't want that type of responsibility, really look into whether just renting is the better choice.
Yeah, and you also have to think about the opportunity costs, because at the moment we're like saving for a house deposit, but we were investing a lot of money before that, and so we were then able to let our money continue to work, and we were able to invest a lot more. But now that we're saving up for a house deposit, we can't invest as much, so we're then potentially losing out on some returns because we haven't been able to use a lot of the money to invest. So you do have to think about that. It's not just like, renting is bad and then buying a house is good. Like, there are so many different nuances that I think people just don't really understand. So we've got a question. I think I've had a 55% salary increase in the past year. Oh, amazing. I'm on track to being debt free by December. And then I have a 2-year strategy to save and buy my own home. Amazing. That is amazing.
That's really, really good.
That's so good. 55% salary increase as well. That is huge. So well done.
And also I like the fact that that you didn't fall into lifestyle inflation. Like the fact that you're using your increase to get out of debt and then buy a home that you want. That is really good. That is really amazing. Very disciplined.
So I think we're just trying to say that we're not saying like buying is better or renting is better. I think what we're trying to say is do what is best for you. And don't always just listen to what people are telling you to do. Really think about like what's important for you, because there are pros and cons to both buying and renting.
Like me and my husband play around with the idea of moving to London. And we would rent. We would rent
in London. I'm gonna be buying a house in London.
Exactly. We're gonna do maybe like a 6 months, 1 year stint in London. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but we would rent. I'm not buying a house in London because, one, I'll be investing, and two, because of this house, we might be able to get money from it whilst we're renting in London. So I think that is like, again, it's the decision that works for us. Some people think we're crazy for maybe wanting to move to London for 6 months. I get it. Because it's expensive, but that's what we want to do. A question I was getting asked is about, well, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes with saving. What would you say is like one of the biggest mistakes people make with saving money?
So I would say one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they are just not realistic with their numbers. And especially if you are someone who is a natural spender like me, if you're not realistic with how you spend your money, it is going to impact how much you save. Because let's say you tell yourself, oh, I'm only going to spend 500 this month. And you're like, I'm gonna save the rest. But then come the end of the month, you've spent 1,000. You've spent, almost double how much, double the amount that you wanted to spend. Then where's that money gonna come from? Either you're gonna have to dip into your savings, or you're gonna have to use debt to pay for that spending. So I think being realistic from the get-go and accepting, okay, this is how I want to spend my money, and I'm okay with spending that. That then allows me to spend it without having to think about my savings. Like I can then save for something else separate. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see. How about you?
I guess people just go all or nothing with saving. You just think, okay, I can only save now. All the money that I have to get, I can only save it. And like you said there about spending, especially if you're a natural spender, what do you do then if you're just going to save? Like how are you going to sustain that? Like that's just like my biggest thing, because there is so much shame and judgment around spending,
Mhm.
which is a whole
100%.
nother
That is
topic, because we should be spending money. We should just save and invest, and that is it.
They don't even say to invest. They just say save your.
Oh no,
save your
save.
money.
Yeah, save your money. Just save, save, save. Like, you know, we're just gonna live our lives and save. What about the fun?
Yeah.
And like, why? I always just wonder why there's so much shame around spending money, because money is meant to be spent.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're meant to spend it doing something, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's what it is. Like, when people do have that all or nothing mentality, okay, I can only save now. Like, I'm not like doing anything else. Don't get me wrong. If you have the goal of saving a lot of money and that's what you want to do and you're happy doing that, that's really good.
Yeah.
But some of us can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, we can't sustain that. We want to be able to, you know, spend on a coffee if we want to, or go to a restaurant, or buy a book, whatever it is. So I feel like just having that all or nothing mentality is like one of the biggest mistakes I see people saving, because then they can't sustain it. Because then they'll be able to do it for maybe a couple months, and then the third month they're falling off the bandwagon.
Exactly. And that's why I say you have to be realistic, because there is no point in you trying to tell yourself, oh, like, I'm just going to spend 50 a week on groceries, when you know yourself, you spend 200 a week on groceries. It is not going to work. Whereas, okay, if you wanted to reduce it and say, okay, I feel like I'm spending a bit too much in this area, I would like to reduce it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But if you know that realistically, that is just something that you can't cut back on.
Yeah.
Why are you telling yourself that you're only going to spend 50? Like, you're then going to feel worse when you then go over budget.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't realistic in the first place. And then you feel even more worse because you now can't even save any money.
Yeah. And do you think people are unrealistic with their budgets?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. It's like, and this is why I'm so passionate when it comes to budgeting, because it always feels like people think the budget isn't there to help them spend money.
Yes, that's good.
Like you shouldn't be budgeting if you're going to spend money. Like, the budget is there to just stop you and restrict you.
To just pay off debt or save.
Just pay off debt and save the money.
That's the budget.
That's it. Whereas I'm like, my favorite part of the budget, yes, I like to see how much I'm saving, but my favorite part of the budget is planning how I'm going to spend my money.
Yeah.
Because then I'm thinking, oh, am I going to this brunch this weekend?
Yeah.
What am I doing this weekend? Are we going to go out to a restaurant for like our date night?
Yeah. I love that.
And literally, I do that in the budget. So yeah, I think people have unrealistic budgets all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, definitely. And I think it's just, again, that restriction with the budget, because they view a budget like that.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you can't sustain it again, because it's too restrictive. Like, you're allowed to have fun with your money. You don't have to just do the good financial things.
Yeah.
You can actually do things that make you feel good, or things that you enjoy, just because. You don't need a reason. Just because. Just because you enjoy it. If you can afford it and you're still meeting your financial goals, I don't see a problem with it. That's just my life.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I've always said that when it comes, especially because I'm a natural spender, what I realize is there is a difference between spending money much more intentionally versus just overspending.
Yes.
And what I used to do was just overspend, because I would just spend money on anything and everything. I couldn't even tell you what I was spending money on, and I wasn't happy about that. Whereas what I realized is that I just need to make sure that I'm just spending money on things that truly matter to me.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you may even realize that you don't even end up spending that much money.
Yeah.
Because things that are actually really important to you aren't even that expensive.
Yeah.
And then it means that you no longer feel guilty about spending, because you're still spending.
Yeah.
But you also still have money to save.
Yeah.
And you can still save a good and decent amount. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me to save so much money. But at the same time, like, I was still living life. Like, I was still going out. I was still seeing my friends.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah. And as a natural saver, I've always felt guilty for spending money. So, like, having that guilt of, oh, I should be saving it, or, like, I get it. Like, I used to, the pit of my stomach used to feel it until I got to the point where I was like, actually, I work hard for my money. I deserve to enjoy it. Like, I want to be able to go on holidays, go out, and not feel guilty because I didn't save the money. So it's been good to actually sort of heal that, in that sense that actually spending money isn't bad. Yeah. And you know what? You can upgrade a lot of things, or even just little things that you spend money on and do, like, feel good about it.
100%. So someone said, thank you both. GB Rebright. I got myself into debt previously because my spending habits greatly outweighed my income. But now that I have a higher income plus bonus, my spending habits has significantly decreased. Wow, that's interesting. My biggest focus is getting out of debt, but my biggest concern is that I will have those debts recorded on my credit report for the next 6 years. How did you buy your own home after being in debt?
Okay,
that's an interesting question.
that is an interesting.
So, she probably knows GB Price. I think her name is Grace, but I may be wrong. So for people that may not know, I bought my house with my mum at first, and now we're looking to buy our house now that we're married. But it wasn't because I still made actually. When we bought it, it was back in 2017. So the only thing that I did have was my maxed out overdraft at that time. I didn't have my car loan. But it didn't necessarily impact my credit report because it was interest free. So it wasn't like I had defaulted on that debt. So I'd be curious to know, when you say that it's recorded on your credit report, is that because you maybe didn't make payments on that debt, or did you make normal payments and it's literally just, on your credit report? But for me, I think, interestingly enough, my credit score actually went up once I paid off my debt.
Yeah, see, some people record that their credit score goes down once they pay off their debt. Yeah, it's interesting.
It went down a little bit, but then it went up after. Yeah. So I think sometimes we have to be very careful because people think that you should go into debt if you want to increase your credit score. And what people don't realize is,
what do they?
You make a mistake of using, when people say use a credit card, they're not telling you to get into credit card debt.
Yes.
Using a credit card to increase your credit score and getting into credit card debt are two different things. Completely different things. You don't need to go into debt for you to increase your credit score.
You don't.
At all.
Like, I increased my credit score, might as well talk about it very quickly. I increased my credit score by making like maximum £100 purchases. Yeah. And that was once a month. Like, the maximum I'd ever spend was £100 on my credit card, and then I paid it off. Yeah. Pay it off. Literally, the statement would come, paid it off the next day. Yeah. And then that's how I built my credit score.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I built mine as well.
Yeah.
You will never see me pay credit card interest because, first of all, that interest is just so expensive.
It's ridiculous.
And yeah, it just, oh no, it just won't happen. But if you know how to use a credit card properly, it can be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Hello, Integrated Purgatory. Hope you're well. And guys, if you've got any questions on please Instagram, do ask us. Please do ask us. We are here to come and answer your questions. Anything else that we wanted to?
I think we talked about what I've been thinking about. I've been thinking like the spending thing really is something that has been on my heart recently. Just so shamed for spending so much.
Yeah.
And I wonder where it comes from. I wonder where we always feel like that. Like when I feel guilty for spending, like I said, it's because I feel like I should be saving. But then I don't think that's never really been a good mentality. It's never got me anywhere, except just not enjoying experiences that I wanted to enjoy.
Yeah, which is interesting because you're a natural saver. Whereas I think before I used to have the mentality of saving just wasn't in my vocabulary.
I love that.
So like for me, like the money was there to be spent, and I'd be like, why would I not spend the money? And I think it partly comes from childhood as well. I think for many of us, especially if you have always been told by your parents, there's rice at home, you can't go to McDonald's. Like if you've been told that as a child, when you then grow up and then you start making this money, you're literally just telling yourself, I deserve to spend that money because I had been restricted so much. Yeah. So it's interesting that the way you were brought up with money can have a big impact on how you view spending and how you view saving, because I just never ever thought that I could save.
And I would be like, no, the money can only stay here. It can't go.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think, oh, I can't spend this money, because I used to hoard all my money in a bank account. I didn't really. There was one point when I wasn't really saving and I wasn't really investing. I wasn't doing anything. It was just hoarding the bank account because I didn't want to be broke, which is something that I heard a lot when I was growing up. So yeah, so for me, it was always like, oh, I have money, but I can't spend it. Whilst for you, it's like, I have money. It's time to spend.
So we do have a question. Any money mistakes you regret? Which is interesting because we actually filmed a YouTube video on this very topic.
Yeah, we did.
So
actually,
make sure you're subscribed so that you check that out. But any money mistakes that you regret?
I'm thinking about the ones I didn't put in the video. Not to spoil the video for you guys. Because it's a very good video. Yeah. We'll reveal a lot. I'm trying to think.
So I can say one money regret that I made earlier, and that was back at university, and it was not preparing for other expected expenses. So when I first got my car, that was probably the first time I'd like ever saved. When I first got my car, the only thing I had money for was the car, and that's it. I didn't have any cash for the MOT, the insurance, any road coverage. I had not prepared for any of that. So, and in fact, I didn't even prepare if something happened to my car and I had to fix it. So when I then took the took my car to get its MOT and to get everything tested, I remember the person telling me, like, your car is not going to pass, and in order for it to pass, you need to fix these things, and this is going to cost you £700.
Oh, wow.
And I was literally like, I don't have that money.
Yeah.
I don't have that money because I had no savings whatsoever. So I think like that was a mistake of just not preparing for other things or any other, even either expected or unexpected expenses. Because had I had something like an emergency fund, I could have then just used that money, or even just a normal car fund, like a pot of money just for my car. I could have then just used that money to pay for the, to pay for the car. But since I didn't have the money, I had to use my overdraft for it at the time.
Yeah. That's really sad. Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to
that
you.
was my
that's what happens when you buy a car.
And even like I've had so many car troubles when it comes to my money, because there was then another time where I think it was a couple of years later, and I was working at this point. I was not at university, and I think I've shared this story before, but my car broke down, and I bought such an old car, but they told me that in order like to fix it, I would have to pay 200 to pay for it, and I did not have that money. And at that point, I'd even maxed out my overdraft, so I couldn't even go to my overdraft to pay that money. So I literally called my mum up, and she was like, I can't send you money at the moment. And I was like, and then I had to call my partner, who's now my husband at the time, asking him, please, can you just transfer money? Because I need the money to get it fixed. Because I literally was living paycheck to paycheck and did not have any money. And I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I'd made, but it then started to plant the seeds that I need to take control of my money, because I can't be doing that all the time. Like, what if I didn't have my partner at the time? My mum couldn't transfer me money. What would I have done?
Yeah, exactly.
What would I have done?
Yeah. I that's really tough, because this is why an emergency fund is needed.
100%.
And I think a mistake that I've made with emergency funds is not using them for emergencies. And I'm just like, that's money there. Let me spend it on this very minor thing that I don't actually need. It's not a need. It's not part of it. And I think actually defining for me what my emergency fund has been for has been the really big change for me. But a regret that I have, which I think a lot of people who do invest have, is I regret not investing early enough personally, because at the end of the day, I spent 2 years not investing. So I found out about investing in 2018. I was like texting people about it, like, I'm going to start investing or whatever. I was on this dummy account. I was pretending to be a day trader. Like, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And then for 2 years, I did nothing. I literally have like a text message from my brother. My brother asking me, how's the investing? And I said, haven't done it. It's been too hectic.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Even now when I'm thinking about it, I was like, what was going on in my life that I couldn't invest? It literally takes me less than 5 minutes a month to invest now, but apparently it was too hectic.
Yeah.
And I guess I regret that because, you know, with investing, time is your biggest asset.
Yeah.
So I just think, you know, don't delay it if you feel ready to do it. Personally, that's what happened to me. And that's like one of my biggest regrets. Those 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And 2 years, like, it's a while.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Right. It's really significant. It wasn't like a few months, it was 2 years. And it's funny because what I ended up investing in, like the platform I used, was the platform I was talking about to my brother in those 2 years.
Wow.
So I already knew, but I was just so scared. The fear of investing was so, like, it just overtook me.
A lot. Yeah.
And just the thoughts about what investing actually was.
Yeah.
That is the reason why I was so, like, hindered and hesitant for 2 years. And yeah, don't regret it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. So we've had a comment, especially when you're around everybody. I think this is what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You feel odd if you aren't spending like everyone
This is
else.
me. That is me, literally. I remember even at uni, all my friends would go out and like go buy loads of clothes, buy new makeup and all that. And I'm just sat there thinking, nope. Like, I even remember when I had my first proper job and I went out with my 2 friends and they were like buying things left, right, and center. And there's me just like, no, I'm not gonna spend anything. Like, just like
that would have been me.
Yeah. You would have been my friend. There's me just sat there thinking, why are they all just spending money? And like, there's me sat there like, yeah, that was me. I was the friend who felt odd for not spending. Like, even like last year, I went to like a Nike store with my friends. Everyone bought something. Everyone bought it apart from me. Because I was just a bit like, I don't need anything. And these people these are my friends who like to spend. And I'm like, I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Again, it does make me feel odd, but it's because I know what my values are now.
Exactly.
And I'm being more intentional about it versus back then. I feel like I was just scared, even if I wanted to.
Yeah, 100%. So someone said, so glad I've caught this live. Yes, thank you so much for joining us live. Emergency funds are essential, still hoping to grow mine. Yeah, I would say that saving up for an emergency fund has been honestly life-changing.
Life-changing.
Because even I think last year, if we go back to the car example, because clearly me and cars,
you and cars are not friends.
We're just not friends. And like, guys, and I've just been in car accidents before, so like me and cars were just it's crazy. But even like my husband came up to me like one time last year and he said like, I've actually accidentally bumped into someone and the person was fine with not going through insurance, but it meant that I think we had to pay like 500 to pay for the car. Now, had I been where I was 4 years ago, not having money, I would have honestly like broken down because I would have been like, how on earth are we going to pay for this? Yeah. But because we had an emergency fund, we were like, okay, take it out of the emergency fund and then we'll just build that back up.
Yeah.
And literally the amount of peace I still had just simply from having an emergency fund was crazy. Like I didn't even flinch. I was like, oh, that's a bit annoying. But I was like, yeah, we have the money. So pay the person, then we'll just build it back up.
And I guess I want to add something to that I've seen that I had a little bit as well when I went into my emergency fund, is don't be scared to use your emergency fund.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for. Yeah. Like literally you have built yourself a financial safety, a financial security cushion for these exact moments like Verona has explained. So don't be afraid to use it because that's what it's there for. And like you said, you can build it up again.
100%.
Not a problem.
100%. If you know how to save, building that emergency fund will not take long at all.
It won't take long.
It will not take long at all. Like I've had a client that's come to me like crying because she's like, oh, I've had to use my emergency fund. And I was like, well, what's it used for?
Yeah, like what's
just like emergencies. And I was like, well, there you go.
Literally.
Like, you know how to save. You'll be able to build that up quickly. Like it won't take long.
And at the end of the day, the emergency fund is like you having your own back.
Yes.
Like 100%. Your client, she had her own back. Yeah, she was crying, but at the end of the day, the girl had their own back.
Yeah. And when she realized I actually have money to pay for this, she was like, oh.
Yeah. I don't need to get a credit card and pay off with a credit card that I might not be able to afford or go into my investments. I already have the money. That is incredible.
100%. Unexpected car repair costs are a pain. Yeah, serious pain, 100%. I recently spent over $1,000 on repairing my car, which has set me back on my debt-free journey.
Yeah.
But thank goodness I'm still on track. Yeah, that's also another thing I think is like having a bit of a cushion, especially when you are paying off debt. I think sometimes people don't really talk about this, but this is something that I did, and I was actually really happy that I did. So before I even started paying off my debt, I decided that I was going to set, I think at the time, I first set about 500 and then I set aside 1,000. But I did that because I didn't want to have to go back into debt if something happened with my car. So, you know, whether you want to have a fully funded emergency fund or just a mini emergency fund, especially if you're paying off debt, can be really helpful as well.
Having that cushion is definitely.
Yeah. I'm really worried about my finances. I earn 24K a year and I'm really struggling, but I could lose my job soon. I've got a girl pregnant as well, but she is 14, so I could go to prison. What is the best thing to do with making my savings earn the most interest if I do go to prison?
What? This is really sad.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I don't really understand the question, to be honest. Could you rephrase the question? Do you want to, so you have savings, but you might go to prison? Like, can you just clarify a bit more? Because I'm a bit confused. Sorry about my reaction. I'm just a bit confused.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I would be trying to, first of all, yes, trying to save as much money as possible, but thinking, can you also get another job like during this time where you can get a higher pay so that you are able to save a bit more? Money is worthless in prison.
Actually, I don't really know the prison system.
Yeah, I don't know the prison system either. So I think it might even just be worth maybe talking to someone about this and see what you can do. Because obviously, if you maybe need to think about child support, I'm not really sure how that would work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't really want to get too much in this because if you are an adult getting a 14-year-old pregnant, that's a whole situation. And I will vet out that getting professional help might be the best solution for you.
Definitely get professional help. So someone else said, I've lost my job during COVID, and because I had an emergency fund, I was able to take 6 months out to retrain and find a job I really wanted. Moving broke is key.
I love that. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So good that you have an emergency fund. Job. This is what I mean about it, right? If you lose your job tomorrow, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like this girl, Lems, she had 6 months to get a new job, retrain. Like that's the thing. Like it gives you that security. Like if you lose your job, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I can like spend some time either looking for a job, retraining or whatever, because you have your cushion. You have your own bag.
Yeah. And I remember like this felt so real for me back in like 2020 during the pandemic when everything was going crazy, because my company would be doing restructures, like they would be making people redundant left, right and center. And I could see like the fear in people's faces because they were thinking, how are they going to pay their bills? Like how are they gonna have the money to pay their bills if they've lost their job? Whereas for me, because I had an emergency fund, I was thinking, okay, well, if I lose my job, at least I have some time to find another job, and I'm not too worried about having to pay bills because I have my expenses covered for. And I think having that piece can also free you up, because then you also I feel like maybe if you do have an emergency fund, it means that you can even take your time to find what job is right for you. Like it gives you the freedom to do that, rather than if I'd have lost my job and I literally had no money, I didn't have an emergency fund, I didn't have anything, I'd probably be thinking I just need to get any job to pay my bills. And unfortunately that's what the reality was like for people, especially during the pandemic.
And mentally it's not good, because then you'll be in frantic energy, you'll be stressed trying to find this job, and instead of being relaxed, chill with your emergency fund.
Definitely. I was also able to increase my salary significantly from training during the break. I was able to take with my emergency fund. Gives you so much flexibility. 100%. agree with that. Yeah. Flexibility is important. Where's the best place to make my where's the best place to put my money to make interest over 4 years? So you could look at like a high interest savings account.
Yeah, there's a lot of those going around these days. Because high interest in the UK, if that's where you're from. But yeah, there's definitely more high interest. Like my savings account offers me like 3.1% interest.
Yeah.
When have we ever seen that in our lifetime?
It's been a long time. But yeah, I would definitely say high interest savings account. If you're thinking something like much more long term, again, not financial advice, but that's when you may want to start thinking about things like investing. But in your situation,
depends on what's
going on, I would say. But again, we don't give financial advice like that, so talk to a professional. But yeah, anything else? I feel like we've actually been talking for quite a while.
I'm surprised it's gone on for as long as it has. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty shocked.
So I would say, what's one key learning that you've had over the past few years that has maybe got you to where you are today when it comes to finances?
Oh, that is a really good question because there's so much. I'm trying to think like what was the first thing. What's the one key thing? Okay, it has to do with investing because that's the thing that's really changed my life. That's like changed my life. I would say the one thing that I learned is you don't need to be perfect to start something. Like investing, like saving, it doesn't need to start off as the perfect journey. You can just get started with what you have, and you probably know more than what you think. Like imposter syndrome is real. Like even before I started saving, I still didn't really know whether I was saving right or not. I'm getting in my head. When I didn't invest for 2 years, and one of it was because I was trying to do it the right way, find the right investment, invest at the right time, all these things, all these shoulds, all these rights. So what I've really learned is just get started and learn as you go along, because it's a lifelong learning with money. It's never going to be you learn once and that's it. Like I'm still learning now. Like I'm always going to be learning. So yeah, don't let that fear overtake you and just believe in yourself a little bit with what you're doing.
I agree. I think one learning that I've had is to do with saving, because I'm a savings queen. Even if I'm a natural spender, I still claimed it. But one thing I would say is saving can be a skill, and once you learn that skill, you can do so many things with that. So for me, because I learned how to save and still spend, I was then able to take that skill and start investing and growing my money as well. So having the skill of saving and knowing how to set money aside and having a specific purpose for it is so important, because I always say, I don't save for the sake of saving, especially if I'm a spender. I'm not saving for this. I'm not just going to save just to have money in a bank account. I need a specific, like,
these spenders out in these streets.
Yeah, because I spend it. Like, what's the point?
Well, our savers will be like, yeah, we'll just save.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll save just to save. Like, I'm just gonna
exactly.
save.
There's that. But I think having a specific purpose on why you're saving for something, or why you might be saving to now start investing, is so important, whether you're a natural saver or a spender. Because again, like, saving for the sake of saving doesn't work, no matter what, whether you're a spender or a saver. It's always so important to save for a specific purpose, because then you know what you're working towards, and you're more likely to be more motivated as well.
Disciplined.
And that's why I 100% love saving now, because I don't see it as just like, oh, it's a chore of saving. Like, no, I'm either saving my money so that I can invest it and I can grow my money and make my money work for me, or I'm saving up for a holiday or a house deposit so I can have that, like, I can grow my family in that. There's always a specific reason on why I'm saving.
Yeah, I love that answer. Yeah.
So, any last minute questions before we go? We have been on here for...
We've been on here for a while.
But actually, how can people connect with you from my YouTube?
Oh, yes.
YouTube again.
Sorry, I said that because we filmed a YouTube video today. It was my first YouTube video.
She was great, though.
It's my first time on YouTube. So you can find me on Instagram at The Growth Corner UK. and also my podcast, Building Wealth for Women podcast.
Yes, definitely check out her podcast and her Instagram. And for those of you on Ange's Instagram, my name is Veronia. I don't even think I even mentioned that.
We didn't. We just
We did-
I
we
feel
just
like people
got
on my
into
Instagram know who you are, though. You've been on there before. I just presume that they know you.
Yeah. But yeah, you can also follow me on Instagram, actually on YouTube as well. You can follow me on Instagram, Veronia Spain. It is my same name, but I also have a YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, if you like this kind of content, I tend to post every Tuesday, unless something happens, but mostly every Tuesday. And you get to enjoy some of these other videos. And we do have a video coming out. It won't be this Tuesday, but next Tuesday.
Oh, is that how quick it's coming out?
I need to take the time, to do the editing. So you'll see Ange.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the video to come out. I'm excited for you guys to see it, because it was a really good conversation.
Great. So thank you guys again. We hope if you're in the UK, hope you enjoy your bank holiday.
Hope you enjoy the sun
tomorrow. Hope you're enjoying the sun. If you're not from the UK, we hope you have an amazing evening. And I think that's us done.
Yeah, that's us done. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
I want to